All right, let's be honest, supervision in our field could be a lot better. There are problems, very big problems, with the scaling up of our entire model of service delivery. And this is typical in some ways with growing industries, but there's actually reports from within the analyses of our communities that we're experiencing things that just haven't been experienced before when it comes to industry growth. And today I want to talk about the pain points, specifically in supervision a bit, with a guest, Jessica Fuller. Let's go. All right, everyone has their own unique story of how they got into the field. What's yours?
Well, I started out, I kind of just stumbled upon it like many people. I started taking a undergrad class. It was Principles of Applied Behavior Analysis, and I had this fantastic professor. Her name was Victoria Fogel.
Okay.
She was like the most strict professor I've ever had, but she kind of pushed everyone to just be better at everything we did within the class, and her expectations were so high that it kind of made me realize, like, I'm either really good at this or I need to get out of this, because there's a lot of people that depend on what we do. So I loved the class. I continued, got my minor in ABA, and then I got my BCBA, got some experience in the field, went back to get my master's, and then became a BCBA.
Okay, so like most of the folks ended up meeting online and end up on the channel. We met online as well. You're focusing in on like supervision, which I know is a super hot topic. There's a lot of emphasis. We've had Tyler Sellers on here talking about it. There's a lot of talks about the BCBA going on about like the changes and how they're focusing on this more. You have a unique story there that ties into the pain point that many feel, but also the reason that you're pursuing your company, right?
Yes. I had a pretty rough experience when gaining my independent fieldwork hours. I worked in an environment where professional practices weren't really there. There was a lack of professionalism, and there was no mentorship. And I thought I was kind of on the right track of getting my hours. I was almost done, and then, long story short, I had to leave that environment and kind of start from scratch. Yeah,
it's hard to know what you don't know, right?
Yes.
I've seen people run into that.
And a lot of people, I mean, like me, we don't really know, and we're expecting others that are supposed to be our mentors to kind of guide us through
and model
the progress. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So later on, I started talking to colleagues, and I kind of got the feel that I wasn't alone in this, that there were other people that were experiencing similar situations. And then later on, I came across a complete other side of the spectrum where I had supervisors that were absolutely fantastic, that were there for me, that were mentors, that were really teaching me to become a better behavior analyst.
Yeah.
I remember when I passed my exam, my supervisor literally jumped up and down and had tears in her eyes, and I felt like that genuine appreciation from her.
Yeah.
And that really made me think, like, it's not fair that there's people that are not experiencing this. More people need to have that opportunity. So I think that's kind of where I started thinking and came up with this platform.
Okay. So real quick on the topic, I used to do a little bit of tutoring for folks that were going through the BCBA process.
Okay.
And it was basically like if you're struggling with pulling apart questions and understanding how to start to apply this sort of stuff. And I remember test windows were all of a sudden this time where I was super nervous but super excited as well, because it was like everyone sat, you're waiting that like 4 to 6 weeks, and you're like, come on. But everything I did was remote, so the results would go up, and then I'd have to wait for the emails to come in, and I'd be like, what'd you get? And I wanted to ask, but you also didn't necessarily, you're like, did you know, like, it's a weird email, like, did you pass?
Yes.
In case and like everybody did well, they'd come back and everyone would pass. But yeah, it was like super exciting to get that email, and
Absolutely.
folks like, we did it, I did it. Yeah, It's super exciting.
The best feeling.
So that pain point, I think many resonate with, unfortunately, but it's also an opportunity to do something better, right?
Absolutely.
So where'd the idea come from, and what is Link ABA now?
Okay, so at ABAI, I was speaking to a few people, and they asked me, like, why would you do this when so many people have good supervision practices in their companies? And my answer was, like, there's also a lot of people that don't have that. There's a lot of people in remote areas that I've spoken to that see a supervisor once every 6 months, or not at all, or it might be remote practices, but they're not getting that quality time.
Yeah.
So I wanted to create this platform where they can access that great supervision regardless of where they are.
Yeah, I know there's, so some of the conferences I do are online and stream and things like that, and it was our first step to try to make things more accessible, but I heard through some of my travels and talking with folks that it's so different not having that lab or that community locally in your area, that it is like so valuable for them to be able to have somebody on the other side of the computer screen, right? So love the distance component. So what are the specific things that you do? So
okay, so the first phase of the company, it's a online platform where we essentially are linking supervisors with people seeking certification, and the goal is to have a list of supervisors in different areas of the field. So if you're getting your experience hours in the classroom setting, we'll have someone that is an expert in that area. If you have someone working in the OBM setting, you'll have someone that's specifically interested, experienced in that area.
Yeah. So you've got the supervisor part. What else is there?
So the next phase, well, I moved to a different country, so I'm kind of trying to determine how I can bring up our science there, because it's fairly new. There's not a lot of knowledge in the area. Okay,
so there's two wings here, the supervision part, but now there's kind of exploring how to help out.
Yes. Like
tell them where you're at.
In Dominican Republic.
So you have a 2-year-old, you just moved to this new place in the last 4 months, and there's opportunities down there to help out as well.
Yes. So I'm kind of taking the angle of the environmental side of it. I want to create a environment that's not only safe for my kid that's going to be growing up there, but for all the other families. So Link ABA is starting to look into opportunities to increase sustainability and kind of help out with a lot of the environmental threats that are in our community right now.
Okay.
So for example, there's the street I live on, there's plenty of signs that say do not throw trash here. And at the end of the day, there's piles and piles of trash, and there's no trash cans around. And it's just something simple that we can help, like teach, like, hey, if you put a trash can here, people will put it in the trash instead of leaving it in the home. There's a lot of wrong way driving, and the signs that say one-way street are on the opposite side of the street. So you don't see it until you're driving the wrong way at the end of the street. So there's a lot of little environmental manipulations that we can kind of
test and see like how they work. Okay, very cool. Okay, so you have two wings to the business here. One that just kind of inadvertently popped up, like you're in a new country, you have the opportunity to maybe do some work there, start exploring that sort of side. That's awesome. I know there's some talks, we're at FABA here when we're shooting this, there's some talks about that. Bill Heward, who else? Do you remember?
Well, his was the one that really resonated with me.
Was it? Okay, cool. So there's some awesome people out there talking about this here. I remember when you told me about the trash cans. And you sent me some pictures, and it was insane. There's just like stuff all over the place. It's crazy. Super supportive of that idea. I don't even know where you'd begin. Like high five to trying to tackle it. And I'd say if anyone's interested, comment down below.
Yes, please reach out. I could use some pointers there.
Pointers, but also I'm sure there's people interested. I run into a lot of people that are interested in how do we start contributing and learning more in this area? So like, I'm sure there's opportunities for that as well.
Yes, and there's actually a lot of research out there. Like, the lit's there. So
okay, cool. And then the supervision side, I know you've been pulling through and trying to understand more of the BCBA, what they expect to be paid or how much to pay.
Yes.
How's that going?
So I put out a survey just to kind of see where we were at financially, what BCBA is expected to make versus what people seeking supervision can afford to make, and what they think we should make. So I don't think either of the arguments were wrong, but there's a huge gap between them. So one of my goals in the next year, I don't know, small future, is to kind of bridge that gap so that BCBAs are getting what they should be making, and that students are able to afford good supervision.
Cool. Yeah, because it's crazy, the pricing out there.
Yes.
When you look at it as, when you look, I think, at the total economic situation of you're probably already in debt for trying to pursue this field, and you're trying to also pay for that. It makes sense, I would say loosely in like air quotes, for when you have academic loans and student loans, right, to like pursue that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
That's how I went through. But in hindsight, you don't really realize, but in hindsight, when you crunch those numbers, you're like, that's crazy what I'm paying for that.
Absolutely.
And so it kind of created this weird market. Okay, cool. Good luck on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're tackling two big things.
Yes.
So where do people follow you and learn more and keep up to date?
I try to keep up on Instagram and Facebook.
You're pretty good at...
I'm still working on being better and being more consistent. The website has a blog that I'm trying to keep up with as well. I think now that I'm settled in my new home, I can actually spend more time devoting time to that.
Okay, cool. Okay, sweet. Thanks for the time. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank
Links
you.
are below. Check them out. Jessica, thank you. Love, support, value the mission. I appreciate you helping support this channel. It's people like you that fuel the fire and keep me going. Thank you so much. Everybody that's out there watching, please check her out. Share, like, subscribe if you're into this sort of stuff. If you have anybody that's interested in supervision, this is someone that is working so hard because of the inadequate programs that are out there and the systems that are out there. So I'll leave it there. That's your Daily BA. Dr. Sundberg, I have a little issue with the execution of the talk at FABA. So here's my understanding of the differences between RFT, VB, and whether or not they can really coexist.